our first overreaction. The Rangers will win the AL West.
The Rangers are going to win the AL West. I do believe it happens. They've put themselves in the driver's seat to get there for the first time in a while. They were obviously in the
majority
driver's
of the
seat,
season,
a strong majority of the season, and then they went on quite the downward spiral. And thanks to their sweep of the Mariners and the Astros playing terrible baseball over the last couple of weeks, they're looking good, sitting pretty there at the top of the AL West, 2.5 games ahead of the Astros, who are in second place. The Mariners are 3 games behind. So Mariners and Astros are just separated by a half game right now. Look, the Rangers hit. They just hit. And they're not going to be a fun team to play in October. They are going to make the playoffs. I do think they are going to win the AL West now. And it's going to be a fun stretch run for sure, but I think they can get it done. There is obviously still that really big series against the Mariners to end the season.
Yeah, this weekend.
So they have the Angels and then the Mariners. Again. So, they should do to the Angels what the Astros weren't able to do to the Royals. And that's, I think if you win 2 of 3 against the Angels, you're dissatisfied. And that's how the Astros should have felt. If they won 2 of 3 against the Royals, they should not have been pleased. They needed to sweep them. And they got swept, obviously. Yeah. And I think the Rangers need to sweep. And if they can sweep the Angels, who are not anywhere close to the full strength that we saw them at one point this year, honestly, not even for that long. The Angels are a shell of what they could have possibly been had injuries and everything not taken place. They need to sweep them, but I think they take care of business. And I ultimately think that the Rangers are now going to win the AL West, which if you're winning the AL West, you go from on the cusp, a wild card seed, or AL West winning it gets you a bye in the first round and the number 2 seed. So winning that division is going to be huge.
We kind of talked about this when you slump, because every team's going to go through different slumps throughout the season. The Rangers, it was sketchy there for a bit because, as you mentioned, they controlled the AL West a majority of the season, had a really tough stretch, and then turned it around just in the nick of time. They went 11-4 their last 15 games, and that's what you need to do at this point in the season to not only get into the playoffs, but now jump the Astros and take over the AL West. But let's stay in the AL West here for our next overreaction. The Mariners' playoff hopes are slipping away.
The Mariners' worst case scenario came true over this past weekend. It was the biggest series of the year, as I mentioned. All hands on deck. It was the beginning of the playoffs for the Mariners and the Rangers this weekend in that series, and they just crumbled and fell apart. And it wasn't a poorly played series. They were all really good games, but they didn't win a single one, and they got swept by the Rangers, and that was worst case scenario. And now you're on the outside looking in. Now you still control your own destiny because you play everybody that you need to play. If you're the Mariners, you still play the Astros, you still play the Rangers again. They could win the division. If they sweep the Rangers at home, the last series of the year, they could win the AL West. But absolutely, their playoff hopes slipped further and further away after that weekend series against the Rangers, and not good for the Mariners.
It's just crazy after having the incredible August, really since the All-Star break that they had. They went on an incredible run to a complete, the worst time to have a slump in the month of September. They've only won 2 series this month. It's brutal. It's unfortunate because it really looked like they were trending in the right direction. But not only the Mariners, but our next overreaction also kind of slumping at the wrong time. The Astros blow a golden opportunity against the Royals. I know, deep breath.
The current play of the Astros is embarrassing and unacceptable. And there's really no way around that. It's downright embarrassing. You get swept by the Kansas City Royals in the biggest series of the year, in a series that can really put a stamp on what like getting to where you need to be and winning the division. And they've now lost 9 of their last 12 games. They've lost 4 straight series. against the A's and the Royals twice.
Oh, that's bad.
One of those series was against the Orioles, very good baseball team, and probably going to be the 1 seed if they hold on in the AL East. But 4 straight series, 1 against the A's, and 2 of those were against the Royals. And you get swept in the biggest series. It's unacceptable. It really is. It is frustrating to watch. It is frustrating to watch them as someone that hopes they get into the playoffs so my brother can play in October baseball again. To watch them night in and night out, it's unacceptable. I mean, they're clearly, they are a better team than everybody they're losing to, and these are the biggest games of the year, and it's just all crumbling apart for whatever reason. Well, you know, some nights it's pitching. A lot of these nights lately, it's been pitching. You look up at the beginning of the game. If you miss the first 10 minutes, you look up and it feels like the Astros have been down 3-0. 3-0 Royals in the first inning. And then all of a sudden you're trying to dig your way back out of a hole. Of course they blew a golden opportunity, but they're blowing the division and they're watching their playoff hopes dwindle away at this point. If they keep playing like this for the rest of the season, the Houston Astros are going to miss the playoffs. And with that roster and those players and their experience, unacceptable and embarrassing.
Well, let's stick with the Astros in the series that starts today for our next overreaction. The losers of the Astros-Mariners series will miss the playoffs.
I do think that the loser of this series, whoever loses this series, I think is going to miss the playoffs. You currently have the Astros in they're in that final spot, and then the Mariners are just a half game behind them. So if the Mariners win the series, then they're going to be in the playoffs, and the Astros are going to be on the outside looking in. And then the Astros play a really good D-backs team to finish out the year that's going to be fighting for their lives and their playoff hopes. And it's just, I don't see, I really do think one of these 2 teams is going to get in, either the Astros or the Mariners. The Mariners have had their number all year long, which is a role reversal from what we've seen in the past. And a big reason why the Astros are here right now and you know, clinging on to their last hopes is because of how well the Mariners have played against them this year.
Yeah.
And now you start this series. And I know I've said this about another series, but now at this point, every series you play becomes the biggest series of the year. This is absolutely the biggest series of the year for the Houston Astros and the Seattle Mariners. And I think whoever loses it is going to miss the playoffs.